Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with with various type of win for Easter Classic Tournament here in Golf Clash the game. We're playing from second tee with this Pro and Expert Division. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and before we start, make sure that you do hit that like button, also that you do subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. You can get the ultimate tournament guides for whatever division you are playing by going to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link directly in the description down below. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that all that is shown in the info box and all that is said in the video are suggestions. You don't have to follow what I do suggest, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. So let's start off with hole number 1 once again, and we're gonna start off with the drive. Here I'm using 6 bars of topspin. This to only display the possibility of playing with a lower level type of driver than the Apocalypse level 6. I'm aiming with the ball, or like the bullseye, before the bunker. We adjust max plus 10, which is going to be, as you saw, you're gonna go up into overpower, and then we are going to apply the amount of rings overpower that we do adjust into. So if you do adjust 3 rings into overpower, you use 3 rings, and in the end we go with a full curl to the right, because we do want to push the ball as far down the fairway possible, and also far down right towards the green possible as well. Now, for the second shot, it's going to be a short iron, and in this case, as we did hit a very bad great right, it's gonna be somewhere around 25% of our club, and that is what I'm gonna play in this scenario. 1 bar of left spin to align the ball guideline with the wind. Ball guideline slightly through the hole to compensate for the compressed ball guideline that we're going to have. And then we apply 10% elevation together with the 25% slider that we are using. We do adjust, and then it's time to hit our shot. The thing that we do need to have in mind here, that depending on where we end up with our drive, obviously the adjustment could differ, and that is something that you need to have in mind. If you do have a tailwind, you have a possibility to go for green directly. However, be careful with the water, and it sometimes could be better to lay up on this hole, even though there is tailwind, to just take a simple wedge or a simple short iron towards the pin to lock in the eagle, instead of once again trying to play with danger and play close to the water. No matter what though, hole number 1 in whatever wind we have needs to be a drop if we're gonna have anything to do with having an above average score in the tournament. For hole number 2, we're gonna start with a power 4 ball, just to find complete minimum distance in headwind. If we would be playing with tailwind, I would be starting with a power 5 ball to find maximum distance with my long iron. 4 bars of backspin, 1 bar of side spin to the left. Once that is done, we change to the ball that we do want to play with. I would prefer to play with a kingmaker if possible, and we could obviously go with a win 4 or a win 5 ball as well. In the example here, I do play maximum distance plus 10. And you will notice that the ball is going to come in nicely towards the pin, but we're going to be slightly under adjusted. So my recommendation would be to play maximum distance plus 15 to add a couple of extra decimals to get that ball in the hole. So, we do have the sniper, we do have a kingmaker, we do have max plus 15 with the sniper, and once again, if you do play in tailwind, you will be playing with a long iron, which will be a slight different adjustment. But this one could be money, and I'm looking forward to play this hole in the tournament. Hole number 3 is not going to be an easy one. Here, when I do have crosswind or tailwind, I will be using the big topper no matter what type of wind I'm going to have. And the reason I'm going with the big topper in this scenario is because of the topspin, because I do want to do a double bounce over the rough and sand. So you see here that I do aim with the second bounce very close to the rough line, and adjust max plus 10. I'm using 1.5 ball curl in this scenario to make sure that we're not gonna fall into the rough on the left after our second bounce. So bouncing nicely on the fairway, on the fairway again, over the cliff there, and lands nicely on the fairway. What's going to happen here now is that you are either going to be in long iron range or it's going to be in wood club range. It all depends on what type of bounce you're getting over that cliff, or if you clip the rough or something like that. If you're playing in direct headwind, I would recommend to lay up short, because doing a double bounce over there, it's going to be difficult to get that ball to get out from the rough. And if we do get to be stuck into the rough and we do have headwind, reaching for the pin for the second shot is gonna be close to impossible to do, and then we're gonna have to lay up. Second shot, 5% elevation. I use mid as in the info box just to display that it's gonna be somewhere between min and max. It doesn't have to be mid, because once again it all depends on the rollout that we're having after that bounce over the cliff. I'm trying to use that little sticky spot as already shown there on the video to try to bounce that ball up towards the pin. But to be completely honest, this is a very difficult shot to do well, because the pin stands up on a mound and it's a very uneven fairway that we're bouncing at. So do not expect any albatrosses, but at least expect yourself to get yourself somewhat of an opportunity with a good drive. Those of you having the possibility to play with a higher level Apocalypse, like Apocalypse level 7+, or for that matter a Thor's Hammer level 6+, then use that club instead, as the topspin is going to be good enough on those type of clubs. But for the general player, the big topper is the focus on the. So we're gonna show I'm going to show you two options here. One where we're gonna play a normal bounce over shot, and one where we're gonna play an aggressive rough bump. But we're gonna play the more conservative approach here as a start. 2.8 bars of backspin, 2.5 bars of side spin to the left. And you can see here that the ball guideline is going short and also just slight left of pin. And obviously the ball guideline position is due to the wind coming left to right, and we need to counteract by using a little bit extra side spin than normal for, you know, if we would be having like a straight wind, for example. Maximum distance +10, which is 9.7 rings. And then we're going to try to hit perfect ball. Bounces nicely on the fairway and getting it over to the green, and it rolls down with a perfect speed, just sneaking in there on the left side of the cup. And again, you know, this is a par 3 that will be having a lot of hole-in-ones in my opinion, because playing a bounce or playing a rough bump, both of them are going to have a good chance for a drop. But I do believe that the rough bump is going to be more consistent, but obviously it's going to be risky if you do hit a great ball, and that is what we're going to take a look at now. With the more aggressive rough bump, I would strongly recommend to not be playing this shot in any wind coming left to right due to falling down into the bunker. I would, however, though, recommend to play as well with a wind 5 ball to reduce the wind as much as possible. We're gonna play 0.6 bars of backspin and 0.3 bars of side spin to the right. Ball guideline going right of pin, or like to the right side of the pin. 6.2 miles per hour gives us a total of 7 rings, because we're going to play max +10 power 3 ball settings. So now center the ball, very important, no curl, no overpower is needed here, and we're gonna try to hit perfect. Perfect ball, and you will see the ball bounce into the rough nicely. We do have margin there, and it gets a lovely camera angle and getting that one right at pin for a beautiful hole-in-one. And as already explained, I do believe this shot will give us more hole-in-ones, but at the same time hitting a bad great left or a bad great right, or having just a really bad pull angle might be a big risk on this par 3, and that's why we have the more conservative option, which still give us a good chance. Just that it's not going to be the best chance on this hole, in my opinion. So, there we do have it. Let's start off with the drive here, and with a crosswind and with a headwind, we need to play with the driver that gives us the most power possible. 6 bars of topspin, 1 bar side spin to the right. I would, however, though, see us playing with a little bit less topspin, and I'm gonna explain why when once taking this shot. Maximum distance +10, we're not gonna push up to max, and we are obviously going to try to hit perfect. The reason we do not want to go too long here is because we are then going to be in between clubs for the second shot. So make sure that you do use topspin, but reduce a little bit from what we did play. 6 bars of topspin is, in my opinion, at least 1 topspin bar too much. 5 bars of topspin or even 4.5 bar topspin when it comes to tailwind angle, then that's going to be much better. Second shot, we're going to play the sniper rough bump, and here we're going to play somewhere between the minimum and the medium distance of our club. It's going to be more towards the minimum distance here, and this is going to be a very difficult shot to do when it comes to especially tailwind. And the reason it is going to be much more tougher in tailwind is due to the fact that we adjust from a higher point to a lower point and will therefore lose even more distance. If you do have a flat crosswind, that's going to obviously be better. We aim for the bottom part of the rough because that gives a more consistent bounce, and we see that we do hit that part that we're looking for, but unfortunately we do still over adjust it slightly and then go a little bit short. Ball guideline always through the hole, as the ball is going to be rolling uphill from the rough bump, and then we need to have the ball guideline through the hole to make sure to not go short. Negative 25% elevation, so minus 25% elevation for this rough bump. And just to have it said, if you feel uncomfortable with going with this rough bump, which could be tricky, especially if you have never done it before, then there is nothing wrong with just playing that shot to land it nicely and safely on green. But the thing that you need to have in mind, if you want to have an eagle on this hole, then you're going to have to play the rough bump, even though you might not feel comfortable with it. So we start off with the drive, and here would you want to play on the left side of the trees. The reason for that is that there is no point in playing on the right hand side here with higher wind, as we do take a higher risk. And also we have the possibility on the left side to play further in front than what we normally do. Adjust max plus 10, and we're using 6 bars of topspin and a little bit of side spin. Perfect ball, and we'll see the ball traveling away and bouncing nicely on the fairway, and then a roll towards, like the middle of the fairway a bit further ahead. So we're gonna see at yardage, we do a 387. From there, we're gonna play somewhere between 80% and 100% of our club. I'm gonna play, however, in headwind, I'm gonna play 100% of my club in terms of adjustment. 2.8 bars of backspin, 1.5 bar side spin to the left, ball guideline going through the hole, very important. Or let's say like this, the ball guideline should show that it should be rolling longer than the pin, and the reason for that is once again because with headwind the ball guideline is going to be compressed, and we need to compensate for that. Max plus 10 with our adjustment. I'm adding a little bit of overpower as well, just to make sure that we do get that extra push that we want to. Bounce nicely into the rough, and we just barely missed that one on the right hand side. We should have taken off like 0.2 decimals. Would make sense though, as we're not entirely in max distance, but this is, in my opinion, a good chance for a drop. For hole number 7, you will see 2 types of a rough bump. We're gonna play the first one that I would like to call the more safe one. 4 bars of side spin to the right, and you can see that I'm going to play this one in the end with half a bar of backspin. Ball guideline going left of pin, and being approximately 1 green square left as well. In the center of the rough with the bullseye, and once that is done, we will be adjusting 1 to 1, which is medium distance plus 10, power 3 settings. Half a ball of curl to the right and try to hit. Perfect. So, bouncing into the rough, rolls down towards the pin. You can see speed-wise comes in lovely. We just need a little bit more curl. This is not my preferred way of playing, but I understand that playing with that little strip of rough above the bunker is going to be, more difficult. This is more like a safe way once again. So we're gonna take a look at the other option, but before that, I just want to say that as we adjust from a lower to a higher point with the more safe option here, we do need to play with a strong 1201. So the other option, we're going to play on that very thin rough that is just above the bunker. And here it's going to be important though to make sure that we're actually going to hit the rough first and foremost. 1.5 bars of backspin. You can see that I'm leaving the ball guideline approximately half a green square left of pin with the top of the inner ring by the edge of the rough. Once that is done, we'll apply max plus 15 power 4 ball numbers, which is going to be 1-to-1 plus 1.3, and then it's time to take our shot. And now our little extra piece to the puzzle here is that we will be adding just a tad of overpower. Not much, just a tiny little click, because otherwise we will most likely fall short. The overpower is only to be added if we play in tailwind and in headwind. And the reason that is the case is because we're falling down to a lower point. If we do play in crosswind, we're not going to add any overpower, because then we are on a firm ground, or whatever we can call it. So just have that in mind when you play this very difficult rough bump, but there is a very good chance for good success. So if I would choose something, I would choose this thin rough bump. You can play with a Kingmaker as well. I'm using a special ball to reduce the wind and make it a bit more simplified. So let's go with hole number 8, and we do have a headwind. And here, when we do have a headwind, we're going to try to push the drive as far up and as far right possible. And the reason we want to do that is because we do want to position ourselves for either a dunk or a backspin shot on the green. It can also be that a rough bump by the green could be open itself up, but it all depends on how glitchy that rough bump is for our shot. 0.75% ball in curl to the right. A great right is going to be danger sometimes if you are aiming too close to the rough, and now we are a little bit lucky to avoid going into the rough here, in my opinion. Maximum distance plus 10 is it that we do with the drive, and I'm playing with a Kingmaker to give ourselves the side spin 3, which I think is very valuable. Second shot, you can see here that I'm going to look for a spot into the rough to try to go for a rough bump. The thing that we can see already is that we're playing in medium distance of our club, or at least close to it. And you can see here that I'm going back and forth, trying to find a spot where there isn't that much that glitchy spot, so to speak. But unfortunately, you know, there isn't really any spot here that I feel comfortable with. And in the end, I do decide to go with a normal backspin shot towards the green. If it is a direct headwind, I don't really feel comfortable going with the dunk, especially when the wind is 8 miles, like this, you know, more than 8 miles per hour. That's gonna be very difficult to calculate that dunk. So going with a backspin shot, aiming slightly left of pin, minus 5% elevation, medium distance, and try to hit perfect. And in this case, we're going to get this ball to drop. But at the same time, going with a backspin shot on the green is going to obviously involve a decent amount of green luck, as the green is very uneven, and that's why the dunk in general should be your main option. Those of you being able to play with a special ball could honestly lay up with a special ball and go with a dunk with that as well to reduce the wind and simplify the dunk instead. So in the end, you decide what you want to do. This is an example and doesn't have to be followed, but there is a chance for the backspin shot, there is a chance for the dunk, there's a chance for a rough bump, there's also a chance by doing a bounce over, by bouncing on the fairway up towards the pin. But the bounce over shot, then it requires a much shorter drive, so we do have the correct angle towards the green. So a lot of things that could happen and could be played on hole number 8. In the end though, we do need to get ourselves an eagle, I think, if we're going to have an above average score in the tournament. So let's take a look at hole number 9. This is going to be a long par 5, and if you do have a crosswind or a headwind, crosswind or a tailwind is what I'm trying to say, then we shall try to go as far down the fairway possible. Use as much topspin possible and 1 bar of left spin. Adjustment is going to be maximum distance plus 10. Once you have done that, you need to push up to max. I'm using a power 5 ball here to get myself the most power, or like the most distance possible with my drive, because that is going to help for the second shot. If you do have a direct headwind, you need to be prepared to lay up short and play 3 shots towards the pin, and that could be obviously a very difficult thing to get the eagle. You see here, we ends up very nicely up towards the fairway bunker and the rough. And from here, we're going to play the Guardian. And the reason we're going to play the Guardian is because we do want to have the backspin. Because the way of dropping this one for an albatross, or let's say like this, the very, very, very few times this ball is going to be dropped for an albatross, we're going to have to use backspin, trying to get the ball to be up the green above the pin to then fall down towards the pin and roll into the hole. I adjust maximum distance +5 from overpowered position, and then I'm going to use a little bit of overpower because I was still in overpower after adjustment, and then we're gonna use half a ball of curl to the right. Obviously the curl and the overpower will vary depending on what type of position you do have after the drive. The ball comes down nicely towards the pin, and you know, it's gonna be a safe eagle putt. I'm not expecting this one to drop for an albatross, but I do expect myself to be on green for a simple eagle, and that is the only thing that I'm looking for on hole number 9. If getting an albatross here, consider that to be a very big bonus. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division for the Easter Classic Tournament here in Golf Clash the game. We're playing from the second tee, which is Pro and Expert Division, and I hope you learned something and hope you can apply something to your own game. Make sure to comment in the comment section below if you do have any questions. You can also use the email support@golfclashtommy.com, and we will help you out as fast as possible. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Thank you once again for watching, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.